Welcome back to Africa This Morning. We are now on Table Talk, and today we're going to be conversating around photography. And joining us to share this moment of celebrating art through the lens is Radek Janicki. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Welcome to EBRU Africa. Interesting to host you. I saw some of your photography at the Alliance Française. You are taking photographs on fashion. What's your story with photography?
It's a pretty old story already, pretty long one.
One would think so, but then for us it's new.
Well, what I meant is that I'm doing it for 25 years already. I guess this month is like anniversary.
Yeah.
Maybe I should throw some party.
You know, maybe we're invited.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, it all started when I passed my exams. I become a student at university, but actually it's just those holidays between, you know, secondary school and university, and we decided with my best friend to go to the mountains for holidays. And my friend was into photography. I wasn't at all. He had 2 cameras, good and expensive one, and then cheaper but not so fantastic, and he was deliberating which one he should take with him. And I told him, well, you take the good one, I'll take the cheaper one, and yeah, we'll see how it works. So 2 weeks later we were back, and I immediately bought myself camera.
What did you see about nature while you were in the wild, if I may put it that way, that made you feel there's something about the world that I would always want to keep to myself and share with the world eventually? Yeah,
I realized that I have this passion or this urge to just preserve those nice things that I see. You can call it a moment, you know, when there is a very special light, maybe sun is setting, you know, behind the mountains, you see those amazing colors, and it just feels like such a waste if you are not capture it.
Yeah. Do you feel photography came naturally to you? Sorry to interrupt. Do you feel photography came naturally to you?
I think so, because I've never studied it. Maybe I shouldn't
say that loudly.
But I never took any courses. For a very long time I didn't even read any book. But I just realized very quickly that my pictures are not worse than those that were, you know, sold on postcards or calendars. So actually I thought, oh, why not? I can try as well. I sent some of my pictures to different publishing companies, and they actually, obviously they thought the same way as me, because they said, yeah, why not? And they bought some of them.
When you're looking at photographers, there are peculiarities that usually guide them to create their own identity. As you were saying, lighting, there's a way the mood in that moment is. What are some of the aspects that you have had to refine through your photography that have created your brand, your way of telling your story through the lens?
Well, this is a difficult question, because we're supposed to find our own character, our own path, something that will
identify
you and your pictures. So if someone looks at the picture, he will think or she will think, oh, it must be Radek. And I'm not sure if I achieved that yet. If it's there already, I guess it's the audience that should be asked. But yeah, I think that trying different types of photography throughout this 25 years helped me understand the subject really, and like lately I'm quite active as a fashion photographer, especially here in Africa, in Kenya. I think this background with nature helps me a lot. I tend to grab my models, drag them somewhere out there to the waterfalls, forest, or some place like this, closer to nature, and I think those are quite interesting pictures.
You grab them, take them closer to nature. Before we go into your history as an environmentalist, which kind of synchronizes with what you actually get your models to do, which is environmental photography and beauty, let's go back to 25 years ago. The moment you took the photograph, the moment you realized, I have a passion for this, and you took forth without any kind of background training, how did you navigate the path? Because there's that journey that one takes. Buying the camera, the disadvantages that you had, knowing that you don't know the little kinks that people are always talking about, finding your niche. Yeah, share with us the journey.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how it all happened. Basically I grabbed camera and I started to snap. And since it wasn't digital era yet, I wasn't able to shoot like 1,000 pictures a day, which is possible today. Doesn't cost anything really. So with film, which was quite expensive back then, I really had to think about every picture, if it's worth it to release that shutter button. But somehow it works. I guess what's very important is the composition of your picture. If you don't get it, if you don't understand it, you might finish some courses, you might read 100 books, and you still won't do it right. But I guess it comes natural to many people, and I'm the lucky one.
It's about the eye.
Instinctively, I was composing my pictures right. There are those rules, of
rule of thirds and all that.
Rule of third, yeah, exactly. So instinctively, I got it. So that helped, and of course, reading manuals, learning how the camera works. This part I did. I did some of my homework at least.
At least you went to the background a bit.
Yeah. So my pictures weren't overexposed or underexposed, and that's half of the success already.
When you're looking at that moment when you're deciding, as you're saying, I love that sentence that you said, whether the photo was worth it. When you're looking at your journey from 25 years on up to now, what are some of the aspects that you've looked at that have made a photo worth taking?
When it comes to nature photography, I think the most important is light. You don't really take great pictures in the middle of the day when sun is high up there. The most artistic pictures are taken very early in the morning or quite late.
They say 6:30 and 6:30.
Yeah, something, well, in Africa or close to equator. In Europe, it's a little bit different. I think the most fantastic nature picture I've ever taken was like 2 a.m. in the morning. It was in Scandinavia, about 150 kilometers north from Polar Circle. So there was no night, basically. But the sun is very low there, which gives very warm colors to everything. So I think light is the most important part.
You're a photographer, however, your skill is not only photography. You studied something else in school. Give us that background and share with us the balancing of, because it is a passion, environmental studies is a passion. Share with us how you managed to balance the two.
Yes, I decided to study geography, and there are some specializations you can choose. So mine was environmental science, which is about protecting our environment. It's a very hot topic, so apart from hoping to get good jobs, I was also thinking that this is something that matters, that is important. And as a student of geography at university, I had to travel a lot, which wasn't pain for me because I love it. It's my another passion. And photography, of course, was very, complementary to this. It was helping a lot to memorize what I see and capture certain processes as well in the nature, because as I was learning what's happening out there, I started to notice things in the mountains, in the river valley, and so on, so on. So I was also capturing those things, which became very handy when I started to teach geography as well. I was able to show my own pictures showing certain processes or forms that we can find out there.
The world's story when it comes to conserving, protecting the environment. As an environmentalist, you just said it, it's a very difficult topic. Before, when you're taking environmental photography, what did you see about the mind of the world when it comes to conserving the world, and what do you see of it now, 25 years on?
Yeah, there is lots of talking about environment and the need of protecting it, but actually when it comes to taking little decisions, well, we can say little, but actually they matters a lot. We are rather short-sighted. So like it's important to make money right now and then we will worry. Quite often this is how we think
about it.
So unfortunately I can see that our environment is being degraded more and more and more. There is more and more people every year, every month, every day even, and this anthropopressure, which is a pressure of humankind on environment, is unfortunately growing.
When you're looking at, still touching on the environmental issue, the way we changed our thinking around environment, the photographs that you've taken 25 years ago, are there parts that you've gone to that have changed, that confirm to you that we are at risk?
I think 25 years is not really enough to come back to certain places. Unfortunately, you will see the impact already. It's just that I'm not sure if I saw it, because to take some really nature pictures, you have to go to national parks or natural reserves where this anthropopressure is not so visible. I mean, no one goes there cutting forests down, thank God. But of course pollution is growing and trees are getting sick and all that. But there are certainly parts on our planet which changed dramatically even during this quarter of a century. It's just that I didn't really see it, I guess.
That's something that will
World is so big and I'm just one simple little person, so I'm trying to see as much as possible. I guess I don't come back very often to the same places. Your
photography has taken you to 5 continents, not 5 planets, 5 continents. You know, 5 continents on the planet. You are a rover in a sense. You started off in Europe, of course you were born there.
Yes,
I
was born in Poland.
You've gone to Asia, you've been to Africa, you're here in Africa already. Share with us how the journey has been. What is the story that you're seeing on the different continents? What are you seeing about the human nature and the beauty that you want to capture?
Well, I was really lucky to be able to travel so much and actually not just travel but even live on 4 continents. So far it's really blessing. It helps a lot me as a person, as a photographer, as a geographer, because I can see a variety of cultures, variety of landscapes. It's all amazing and very fascinating. I was lucky to live for about 30 years in Europe. Well, not really lucky. I was born there, so I was lucky to live and try living in North America for a while. Then I spent 7 years in Asia, and finally, well, right now I'm living in Africa. I moved to Kenya 2 years ago.
When you're looking at the stories that you've been capturing on the 4 continents, what are the stories that you have managed to see people project to you? Is it a story of, I don't know, passion of life? Is it the negative? Is it greed? Is it disconnection? What have you seen in the human eye or in the human circle?
Interesting. I saw many things. Maybe one day I will sit down and try to summarize it in some book. Many people are encouraging me to write one. As of now, I'm just trying to observe every day and see what's happening, how people are different from one country to another, from one continent to another, and obviously there are some differences. Every place has some pros and cons, so if you will ask me which place I like the most, it's really difficult to answer. What I love about Kenya is the climate, is the nature. Comparing to Europe, your nature is quite untouched still, despite the fact that we have areas here really destroyed, not even changed by people, but destroyed. But still, you have all this wildlife, which is amazing. It's like, it's crazy. You just go out there and there are lions and zebras and giraffes. Like, I spent 30 years in Poland. I was in almost all the national parks there. The best I saw was like fox, maybe.
You see it all as it was.
Yeah.
When you're looking at your story, most of the time the conversation would always be, it's my story, it's my story. What have you grown, what have you found within yourself in terms of your journeys that have led you to feel that you have gotten to a point you might actually have a place you might call home? Rovers usually never pinpoint one place to call home. You told me South America is the desert of your life, but where would you call maybe a place that you would say this is where home is?
Well, obviously Poland will be my home
Forever?
and always
Yes.
have been, yes, because I was born there. I spent most of my time, my life there. But yeah, I really would like to try every single continent, and then I will be able to tell which one I like the most. I
Is
hope.
there a timeline?
Yeah, probably. The problem is I don't really know when is the deadline.
Okay.
I don't like to listen to those, fortune tellers.
Yeah, the naysayers
So,
and the palm readers.
Unfortunately, time is flying fast, and maybe there is not so much time to really sample every continent very, very deep. But yeah, so far I was blessed to be able to try a few of them, and I'm not really closer to the answer,
Right
like
now.
where is your home, where
Yeah.
would you like your home
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
But there are moments when I'm wishing there will be some base
Indicator,
camp,
yeah, I know.
some place. which I
21st
can
century
call home.
photographers usually have technology as the third arm, if I may put it that way, because you have your eye, you have the camera, you've taken the shot. Then the third eye, third arm is editing.
Yes.
How much of technology do you include in your photos? Do you believe that's corrupting the nature of the shot? Or do you think that's actually
I'm
the
trying
add,
to
the
avoid
plus?
corruption.
Is that the plus to the photograph?
Well, certainly there is no photography without computer these days, which some people might criticize, might call cheating, but actually it's not. When we think about it, from the very beginning there are two sides to the photography. First is being somewhere out there with a model, with a nature, whatever subject of your photography is, and the camera. So this is where you're capturing the picture. But then you have to somehow copy it, either to paper, as it used to be, and still is, or to the computer screen. So there is this part of developing. And from very beginning, photographers were using some tricks, like, when you have this machine to actually develop film and to copy it to the paper, they were, waving hand below the lens to cover part of the picture. So we still do it. It's just that now it's more sophisticated, and I guess we have more power. We can change picture much more. But maybe because I started my adventure with photography from traditional photography, where I had a film, and there was not much of digital processing yet. I'm trying to get the best out there. When I'm shooting, I'm trying to get this picture as good as possible. So it's just a retouch which I'm doing afterwards. The post-processing, I'm trying to limit it to
The
minimum.
minimal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to cheat. I don't want to create new realm on my pictures.
Yeah.
But of course, some retouch is necessary to play with contrasts or saturation sometimes a little bit, because camera doesn't really capture what our eyes see.
The eye is still the perfect camera.
Yeah.
When you're looking at your passion for the environment and your desire to have fashion still celebrated, do you feel that you're trying to balance them, even as you as you put it earlier, you're calling the model out to come to nature, so you're still celebrating the environmental beauty and also fashion as we celebrate it?
Yes, certainly. What I like about fashion photography is that subjects are always very attractive, because it's either handsome man or beautiful woman, and they wear nice clothes. So it's actually very easy on photographer. Wherever you snap the picture, it's great. Everything is beautiful and looks interesting. But I noticed, maybe I didn't even plan it, but I just noticed that I tend to move those models somewhere where the nature is also beautiful. I'm getting quickly bored with studio photography, although I'm doing it as well. But you know, nature provides so much more props that even the richest photographer on earth can afford.
That's a conversation that nature gives you that nobody else can. Right now, the challenges that you're facing, even as you're at a level of almost expertise as a photographer, what are some of the challenges you're facing, even as you sharpen your skill further?
Of course, there are always those financial constraints. I wish I would have better lenses and more of them. You know, you can't have everything.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky to have pretty good equipment, so it's not like I'm really missing out very much. Well, it will be great to have big studio, but so far not enough clients to justify such investment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I think I'm good.
Do you feel that Africans value the power of photography, telling the story through the lens as it is right now? Because even as you're saying that clients are still not yet trickling in. Is it that we don't want to capture our story? What is the cultural aspect that comes in even as you evaluate that?
Well, sadly, I think financial problems of many families are just not allowing them to think of those things. I guess majority of people are just, you know, spending their money very wisely on absolutely necessary things. So this is what's the challenge in developing countries. I think in richer countries people are more
liberal with their
prone
money,
to spend money on good products. Here quite often they think if I choose between, you know, better and more expensive photographer and cheaper, maybe I go for cheaper because, you know, every penny counts. But I wouldn't say they don't appreciate good service or good photography. Of course, it's a bit of a luxury product. It's not something that we can live without it. You know, history teaches us that we were doing pretty well for thousands of years without photography and lenses and digital cameras. So I guess that's the problem.
Your thoughts on selfies? 21st century, even as you close the interview, what are your thoughts? I was talking to a colleague and I was telling them to define or maybe pick a word. Would you say selfies are very self-absorbed, or do you think selfies lean towards self-confident portrayal of self? What are your thoughts? As a photographer.
I never thought about it, but the truth is that, yeah, everybody is snapping those. I guess we all would like to have some proof that we've been to certain place, that we've met certain people, so that's why it's so popular. And now it's so easy because pretty much everyone is photographer. If you have a cell phone, almost for sure there is a camera there, and why not to use it, right?
Does it cheat you out of your excellence that everyone is now a photographer? With the cameras, with the phones and everything.
Certain ways of making money on photography are no longer there. That's true. Like at the beginning of my career, I was selling pictures, nature pictures, to different publishing houses which were making calendars, postcards and stuff like that. This is not a good business anymore. It's just very hard to make even 10% of what I used to make on pictures this way. But in a way, it doesn't threaten my existence so much because I provide way better quality of pictures. So I'm not scared.
Let anyone who comes and dares to get into the challenging match take on the talent.
People still see the difference between professional photographer's job and someone who has a cell phone and snaps selfies time to time.
So even as you close the interview, what are some of the tips you'd give a starting photographer?
Buy the best camera you can afford, I guess, because even though you will be replacing it soon, because the appetite is there always and you still want better and better and better. But basically just have your eyes open and whatever moves you, take a picture of it. Because obviously it's worth it. If it moved you, it might move someone else.
That's powerful. Thank you so much for joining us, Radek.
Thank you very much for having me here.
I hope you've been inspired, and I hope you've celebrated with us even as you're positioning the art of photography and celebrating beauty through the lens. This was our Friday interview here on EBRU Africa from the team and myself. Enjoy the rest of your viewing, and God bless.